Hey everybody, Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine and How to Record Podcasts, and today we've got another Wirecast tutorial. Wirecast 5 tutorial part 3, lower thirds, overlays, and segues. Get it? That's an overlay. And this is a lower third right here at geekazine.com. Pretty cool little overlay right there. But you know, what would happen? I like the overlay or the lower thirds that they have, but what if there was another way to do lower thirds? Such as, I don't know, maybe something like this, which is what I use for This Week in Google Glass, thisweekingoogle.com. It's a nice picture right there. But what if I want to go further? What if I want to animate it? Kind of something like this, which is what I use on iPad 365. Oh, that's kind of nice. Yeah, okay. Well, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the overlays. We're going to talk about all the functionality that Wirecast has. And we're going to do it right next. And we're even going to show you how to do one of these. All right. Hey, everybody. Jeffrey Powers from Geekazine, How to Record Podcast at geekazine.com, howtorecordpodcast.com. And I'm going to show you, these are some basic things that you can really bring in to have a lot of fun and make your show look a little bit more professional, or not look Wirecasty, as I like to call it. Now, there's a lot of great features inside of Wirecast, and if you want to stick with those features, that's all well and good. But we're pushing out the envelope, and I'm going to show you about that, the animation and stuff like that. And we're going to do that right now. But first of all, I wanted a couple house cleaning things. First of all, in that first video, you heard a little bit of an echo. And the reason why that echo was because when I did my overlay like this of me and me, that would create, or even if I did like the desktop, I'll do the desktop, and that it created some weird echo. And the reason why was because the audio on the video part on this picture, this small little picture-in-picture, was turned on. You've got to actually go in and turn it off. And I'll do it right here. So I'll go into my my basic picture. I'll go over to the speaker right here, and then I'll take this. And this Logitech doesn't have a microphone attached to it, so of course it's grayed out. But if it's a source that actually can pick up audio, you have to just take that thing and bring it all the way down. There's also a little speaker area down there, and if you click on it, it'll turn it off and turn it on. It'll gray it out and ungrade. It's just basically how that normally happens and goes from there. So that's basically how you would do that for that. That was the first thing. The other thing was, this is actually the third time that I've tried this. And I guess I had some small problems with my, for some reason, with the MacBook here, which I have to do some cleaning. But the biggest thing is, especially if you're using a MacBook Pro or you're using a PC and you use it for other things, you got to start closing down some of the programs, or else, if email checks for new email and a big file comes down, I turn off my Dropbox, because if somebody sends me a big video file, it starts downloading it and can chew up my bandwidth and chew up process time to bring that file down. Any other program, if something doesn't update or anything like that, that can seriously inhibit what Wirecast is trying to do. And of course, in the next couple weeks, I'm actually going to be beefing up my machine here. So I'm hoping to have a little bit more oomph, so I can do larger videos, 1080 videos, and stuff like that. So those are the two things, just little house cleaning rules. First of all, make sure that you've turned off the audio from the scene if you're not using the audio for the camera or for whatever you have it from, so you don't create that echo. And then, of course, make sure that you close out those big programs, Photoshop, Premiere Pro, all those programs. They just need to be closed down. Close out your Chrome or your Firefox or your Safari programs too, because a web page can even refresh itself in the background, and that could cause a problem as well. So anyway, enough about that. We're talking about lower thirds, we're talking about transitions, and we're talking about overlays. And Wirecast 5 has really taken this lower third and overlay thing a lot more serious than with 4. They had some great lower thirds in 4. Now they have some great scene markers in 5, and I'm really impressed with it. So you could actually stick with it. Like for instance, this one right here. This is simple. This came straight from their list of overlays, and it's perfect. It's exactly what I needed to show you that this is the Wirecast 5 Part 3 tutorial. Simple as that. So I used it. And of course, there's many others. So let's go over to the Wirecast on my PC here. So now I've got all of these set up. I've got the overlay set up right there. But what we're going to do is we're going to create a new one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this or duplicate this shot, bring it over here. This is just easier to do it that way. And then we'll bring it up here. I'm going to zoom in a little bit on this. So now we have the overlay Wirecast 5 tutorial. It's called the Royal Card. Now, inside the overlay sources, and basically all you have to do, we'll even delete it and start over here. So all I have to do is hit the plus button on the source, and I've got no media here. I'll go over to this T right here, and I've got so many different things to choose from. I can choose the ocean card. I can, if I do a one-on-one box, like for instance, if I'm doing a Skype one-on-one interview, I can have me here and them here, but then I can actually choose the Ivory 2 box. And that really doesn't show up too well. Let's try the Royal 2 box. There we go. And then I can have my video here, and I can have their video there. And then, of course, with the lower thirds, I got both of our names in there, and it works pretty well. So with that, we've got other different options. We can go a darker color if we want to, but then we can just do straight up lower thirds. Like for instance, this black-white tile, really nice black-white tile there. What else we got? We've got contrast card. We got aqua title. We got ribbon card. So you can keep going down the list and see which ones will actually work for you. Let me find one that's really nice here. How about this leaf title? So now I've got this nice leaf title in here. So I'm going to close that out. I'm going to say, okay, so when I show my video on here of my USB, and I don't have it, lined up anymore. Let me I guess I have to redo the video. It really doesn't matter on that. But the whole point is I got that, and I've got my lower third right here. So now I can go into my lower third, and I go over to the text area, and I can say I've got 4 lines. Now, some of these items don't give you up to 4 lines. They might do 1 or 2 lines. But, you know, like the cards, they'll give you 4 lines. And you can change fonts and sizes and color on there in there as well. So, but each lower third and each card have their own specifics. So, like, for instance, one of them might not let you change the font size. The other one might not let you change the color. So just be aware of that, test it out, and go from there. So we'll go back over here, and we'll say line 1, we'll say Jeffrey Powers. And we'll go line 2, we'll go Geekazine. Line 3, Geek Out. And I don't think there's going to be a line 4 on there. So I'm just going to leave it at that. I'm going to close this out. And, of course, I'm going to save my work. Always save your work. And then and I'm going to refresh this. And as you can see, Jeffrey Powers, I'm going to get down here, Jeffrey Powers at Geekazine Geek Out, and that's a lower third right there. So that's pretty cool. It's a simple lower third, and you can do a lot with that simple lower third. Like for instance, my simple lower third on this machine is right here. It's called the red, white, and blue, I believe, and it's geekazine.com, Jeffrey Powers, geekazine at gmail.com, at Geekazine, and Geek Out. I got a lot of stuff in there, but you could make it simple. You can make it more complex, however you want to do it. And this is a great lower third. And like I said, if you just want to get it done, there's a lower third right there. But what if you want to have a little bit more oomph to your lower third? Maybe a picture or something like that. Like I said, I do a show called This Week in Google Glass because I'm a Google Glassware owner. Got one pair right here. So anyway, so yeah, I created a nice little lower third right here, which has the logo, right there, the logo of the Android with Google Glass on, my name and my Twitter handle. This is a picture, so I can't change my name. I can't change it from Jeffrey Powers to Jeff Powers. I can't put somebody else's name on there. I create another lower third for that person, and then they'd put it in there and go from there. So how do you do that? Well, you got to get some sort of program like a Photoshop or GIMP or even Paint, anything that can do a PNG file and can do a transparent background. Now, normally what I do when I go into these programs, what I do is I set up the scene 1920 by 1080, that's the full 1080p, and then I create the lower third to that. And then I trim out the top area because of the fact that there's nothing there. I make it a transparent background, and then I save it as a .png file. What it does do, and we'll go back over to the example machine, and I'll pull that out there, is it creates this file right here. And what this file right here is basically the PNG file. And as you can see, it's in the middle of the screen. So what we're going to have to do is do a little bit of adjustment. So we'll bring that up. I'll zoom this in a little bit for you. We'll bring that up, and first of all, we're going to resize it. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key. I'm sorry, the Control key. That's the wrong one. This is Shift key. I switched. No, it was the Alt key. I just didn't go the first time. I switched between Mac and PC, and sometimes it gets a little bit confusing there. So Alt, and that resizes it. Of course, Control we could put a little slight bend to it like that, and then I just bring it straight down. I'll put it down right about there. So now, when I go and I press this again, as you can see, the lower third is down here as opposed to the middle of the scene. And so now I can bring that in. I'll bring that in and I can bring it back out because I have that set up as on my master layer 1 as opposed to the master layer 2. And you say, well, that's pretty cool. You can have some really good lower thirds right there. I'm pretty impressed on that. However, I want something even more impressive. Something like maybe this right here where there's animation in there, the iPad 365 spins as it slides in and it's going to slide out. It tells me my email address and my Twitter handle, and it's out and it's done. How do I do that? The cool thing about Chroma Key inside of Wirecast is the fact you don't need to be, it doesn't need to be a scene. I don't need to have a green screen behind me to use Chroma Key. I just need to have one of 3 colors. And these are basically the primary colors: red, blue, and green. You can't create a purple Chroma Key. You can try, and it's not going to be that great. But the problem is purple gets mixed between red and blue, and the program will get really confused. So you want to have either red, you want to have green, or blue, and you can use any of the 3 to make a Chroma Key background. So what you would then do is you go into your Photoshop. And then you would create, or not Photoshop, I'm sorry, but your program like Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere Pro, Sony Movie Maker, Sony Acid Pro, or Vegas Pro, excuse me. All these video programs, you create a background of either green, red, or blue. And then, of course, you create your foreground scene. Now, I have 2 different ones. I'm going to show you. The first one, and the reason why I did 2 different ones was because of the fact that my primary color over at Geekazine is green. It's always been green for the last 7 years. So I needed to have a green lower third, and that's what this was about. So as you can see, it's a red background, and of course, there's green there. And that looks ugly, of course, and of course, as you also notice, it just cycled through. And I'm going to show you how to fix all of that. So we're going to double click on here and bring up that scene once again. And inside that scene, we're going to go over to the little person right here. And that says, hey, Chroma Key. Let's use the Chroma Key. Now, the cool thing about Wirecast 5, I don't think it happened in 4, but it's definitely in 5. It recognizes which Chroma Key you need by the scene. It says, in this case, it says, oh, hey, you probably want the red taken out. So there it is. It's taken out. I can pick the key color with my mouse and not have to worry about that. I can also change the threshold, the black clip, and the white clip, which basically means If I have a Chroma Key that's not working quite too well, I can adjust those so the green screen disappears. And when I used to do a lot of green screen for iPad 365, I would have to play with that feature a lot to get rid of most of the green screen, because you never know, a shadow, like if I put up my hand, it would cast a shadow on the back part of the screen, and then I'd have to deal with that if it's not perfect lighting. So I had to deal with a lot with that. In this case, you're pretty much saying, hey, the background is red, the background is blue, the background is green. Just fix it that way. Now, another factor on this is, like I said, I was doing green foreground. So I couldn't use a green screen for a green foreground. That's why I used red, because I also wanted the blues in there for that lower third. So you have to choose, and when you choose either red, blue, or green, you got to remember that whatever is in your foreground cannot be what the background Chroma Key color is. Does that make sense? Okay, perfect. Let's move on here. So basically, we'll go back here. We've now just taken out the Chroma Key. Now what we have to do is, this will infinitely loop unless we make this change here. And once again, and also if there's sound, we need to take care of that too. So we're going to go back over here. And as you can see, there technically is sound to this MP4 clip. But there's no sound here. As you can see, it is ungraded, so I could actually bring that all the way down and mute it out. But you know, of course, there's no sound here, so it really doesn't matter if the sound plays or not. But we'll just go down to 0 here. We can set a set in and a set out point. This is mostly for some clips if they have like a countdown in and countdown out. You can make those set points, and then I'll show you that a little bit later with the pass through that I'm going to do here. We want to say, and I want this to do it once and then hold. So I'm going to go here when finished and say hold. And then I'm going to uncheck this box. Remember position when not live. That means that if I go off that scene and come back on that scene, it's going to start from the beginning rather than go from the point that it's at. So now I'm going to go like that. And once I press this, I think I'll just do that. And we'll just go back over the blank shot and come back here. And what that'll do is it'll bring up the lower third. And it'll say Jeffrey Powers. And of course, you can find my Twitter at iPad365. And then the email address. Don't use the email address because it doesn't. Well, that still works, but I don't check it at all. So, and that's it. And that will not show up again. I still have, as you can see, I still have that box checked. And it's just going to stay there until I press off to another one. And I'll go back over to blank shot. And there you are. You've just created an animated logo on there. And the same thing with this one. Now, this one I used the green screen. Option. Whoops, there was audio on there. And that's, I found out later that was copyright audio, even though that was not, it was royalty-free music. So, but the bottom line is that I'm going to take that audio out here, and it's not going to be part of that. So I'm going to do that again. I'm going to double-click on this. That's going to bring it up. I'm going to go over to the person. I'm going to say use Chroma Key. Now watch. It's realized, hey, it's green. So I'm going to take that out. So it uses the green Chroma Key. And then I don't have to worry about the threshold and the black and the white clip because it's already done. We'll go over here. And I'm going to take this audio and I'm going to take it all the way down to infinity. So it won't do anything. And then I'm going to go and I'm going to say hold. And then remember position even when not live. And then we're going to close that out. And then we're going to go blank screen. And now for my transition, we will be right back after this. And there's a little intro in there and boom, there we are. Now we can take this even further. As you can see, now I'm back to the screen. We can take this even further. And the reason why we're back to that screen is because I faded out back to a green screen. So it could do that. And now it's at hold. Now I could shorten this up a little bit. So I'm going to go back into the scene. Come on, go back in the screen. Okay, and then we're going to go back to the speaker here. And this time we're going to take out a lot of this dead space, because basically when I had the music play, it's like, okay, it's time to go to the segue, so I better get ready for that. Excuse me. So I don't need that in this case because I'm not going to play music. So I'm going to take this slider and I'm going to bring it all the way over till I start seeing. There we go. I'm just going to bring it just before here, and I'm going to hit the set button. So what that's going to do is it's going to take the first 2 seconds and just completely ignore it, and then go back and then turn around and play at second number 2 to second number 6. And I can do the same thing at the end. There's sometimes where I have to do it, or else the end credit stays up for some reason. So then I'll take it all the way to the end, and then I'll hit the set button for the out point. And then that way I make absolutely sure that it's going to stop right there and go from there. So now we're going to take that and we're going to close that out. So now when I do this transition, right now, sometimes this mouse, it's this mouse that I don't understand from this new PC. So here we go. And there's your transition out. So it's very straightforward like that. And then, of course, I can talk and then bring in my lower third and go from there. And it's out. And then, of course, I can talk about Wirecast. And then once this is done, or I can just interrupt it and just switch it over and say, hey, this is a Wirecast 5 tutorial, part 3, and go from there. Once again, I can use a regular lower third and it doesn't have any animation. Or I can use one of the lower thirds that come with Wirecast. I kind of like this Greenleaf one. I might just use it in some of my videos here. And then when I'm all done, I can put in the end. And maybe even fade out. Like that. And go from there. So basically, you can create a lot of different lower thirds and crossover animations. So it feels like you've got segments. It feels like you got, structure there. And the coolest thing about using the Wirecast lower thirds is you could go in, like, for instance, I could go over there right now, and I could actually change Jeffrey Powers to something else. And then when it's ready, I can bring that up. Let's say the guest comes on and call it guest 1, guest 2, or whatever. And then they'll have their name on the lower third. Unfortunately, like with this lower third right here, whatever I have is whatever's there. I can't change Jeffrey Powers, like I said before. So, but it's a great, for me, this is a great lower third. I've given my guests lower thirds like that, and they can display it on their screens, so it looks a little bit more professional for them, and it doesn't look like we're in a Hangout, or it doesn't look like we're in a Wirecast session at all. So that's basically it. I'm showing you lower third, showing you segment cross through, showing you the overlay. These are all great ways for you to really expand your Wirecast system and have some fun with it. So, if you have a question, you have a comment or anything like that, you can always contact me. Here's my lower third once again, geekazine@gmail.com. Twitter handles Geekazine. Just think magazine, put in a geek, and that's me right here. I make my own geek porn. That's what I say. So feel free to ask me any question. Of course, like this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel so you can see all the other cool videos I do in technology, all the reviews I do, and of course the events that I go out to, and the interviews I do there. So thanks a lot for watching. Thanks a lot for listening. Jeffrey Powers here. And of course, if you need some more help with YouTube, check out my help out over at, more help with Wirecast, excuse me. Then you can check out my helpouts over at helpouts.google.com and just search on Wirecast. And you can schedule a one-on-one time with me. The first session is free, I believe. And you can go on and do that. So thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you next time for part 4 of Wirecast 5 tutorials. Take care and geek out.